Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's Jessie.
Hey, Jessie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Everyone listening, we've got an awesome episode. You are going to thoroughly enjoy listening to Jessie talk about her business and her journey in fitness. So I'm excited to have you here, and I know everyone will be excited listening. Jessie is the founder, owner, operator, chief of everything at Farm Girl Fitness, and also just a veteran fitness professional. And I'm very fortunate to say we've been connected through the world of fitness. And, you know, I've always enjoyed our conversations and our interactions, and this is going to be another good one. So yeah, I'm gonna throw it straight to you, and you can tell everyone what Farm Girl Fitness is all about.
Sure. Yeah. Farm Girl Fitness is, we're very proud to say, a COVID business. We're one of the good things to come out of COVID. We're outdoor experience here located on my family's farm. We're located North Milton, right on the border of Halton Hills in Ontario. We started in the summer of 2020 because gyms were closed. I was out of work like a lot of other coaches and instructors. And we were looking to get people moving, and we thought maybe we would do something at a park when they opened up. And one day my friend said to me, "Look around, you live on a park. Why would you wait for parks to open?" And I was like, I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to show up because we are a little bit rural, but we're just outside of the suburbs. And so we started running boot camps here, and sure enough, people did show up. And then we kind of started putting the property to use. So we live on top of the Niagara Escarpment. It's a beautiful part of Southern Ontario. People just really enjoyed the outdoors. The safety at the time of being outside for fitness was really important to a lot of people. But then nature became important in other ways for people's mental health too. So we started to quickly realize that we were able to provide a service that nobody else could. Which was the combination of mental and physical fitness and social interaction. People were really craving seeing other human beings and their fitness. And so with the success of that, we decided to convert part of our barn into a studio. So we used to be a horse breeding and training facility. So we converted 4 horse stalls into a small studio, even though we got shut down in late 2020. With typical gym closures like a lot of us went through again. We moved the fitness outside. We have a great outdoor facility that leaves people in fresh air but dry. And we did workouts outside all winter. We were probably one of the few people in all of Ontario running outdoor winter fitness. Coldest workout was -15. We're very proud to say that now. Yep. And I remember that day when I looked at the weather on my watch and I said, guys, it's -15. I said, I think this is the coldest one. And at the time, because of restrictions, we could only teach 4 people at a time, which was very difficult because I was typically getting 16 or so people out on a Saturday morning. So now I had to teach for 4 hours outside instead of my typical 1 hour to see those 16 people. And I remember saying to them, you know what, I'm the coldest one here because I'm coaching you. I'm not doing all the moves. And I remember with my feet being cold and I was just like a marshmallow. Like I was in so many layers. I couldn't even move my arms to show a movement. And I just said, you know what, everybody, we're going to look back one day and laugh at this. And you know what, it became a great part of our story. We're really happy and again, proud to talk about being a COVID business, but we came out of it, spring came, things got to open up a bit more. And we've decided to now expand and create a second studio in our barn, about 2,000 square feet. And we've just continued to expand the business and pivot as really our client and our customer kind of shows us the way for what they want. We're happy to continue to offer something that's unique and different because we feel we're not just a COVID business, as in only good for that time, but we believe that we've got something to offer that really is changing the fitness industry, getting people to think outdoors beyond just, a boot camp for a few weeks in the summer. We're getting people to think about how they can use the outdoors to support physical and mental health.
Yeah. I love it. And for everyone listening, you have to, Jessie mentioned about how picturesque it is and the amazing views and, the cool stuff you get to do outside on a farm in a workout. So you'll be able to find all the contact details in the show notes if you're listening in today. So please check those out. Go follow Jessie, go see what she's up to, because you will be entertained. Even if you're not in the area and you can't go and do a workout or anything else, you'll be entertained by the content and you'll see loads of awesome stuff. And I enjoy following that journey. So definitely head over and do that. So COVID businesses, it's been an interesting journey, which I've also been on, or myself and Nikki have been on. She's not here today, so she's busy off doing other things. But she herself, Nikki and I, we were able to also find an opportunity within COVID and start a business. And much to your point, is trying to find something that could work for people. And, we're all in that business of, for the most part, and we vary a little bit, but serving others, right? And finding those acts of service. And we use fitness as that method to get there. And it's trying to find those things. And it's really surprising, like you said, what people will adapt to or what they choose to adapt to. Outdoors at -15, or I've got a client who's in Winnipeg, so she's logging on an hour earlier than everybody. So for the early morning sessions, she's dragged their ass out of bed at an hour before everyone to come work out with everybody. And it's just what people will do, right? To get that release that they need and serve themselves with whatever it is. And this obviously happens to be fitness, but you touched a lot on the mental and the physical, and that's been something that I've really noticed with people, is that how mentally people are coping so well who are our members, and probably much like yourself, is they're in something, whatever it is, but they're still connected. People are connected physically, ours are connected on a platform that we use virtually, but it's so nice to be able to provide that. And I'm not sure how much, and I'd love to hear what kind of feedback you've been getting on that side, but I've been really surprised by what I've heard from our members from a mental standpoint. Is that a lot of the feedback you've been getting too?
Big time. We've always known, as working in the fitness business, we know how much physical fitness affects mental health. We've always known this, but it took COVID to help other people, I think, sometimes appreciate it. A lot of our regulars at gyms and stuff in the past, they didn't know, but subconsciously what was going on was there was this great piece of their brain saying that made me feel good, go do it again. And so definitely in COVID, people are starting to see what was happening. People starting to understand too the different components that go into their mental health. So going back for us, the social aspect, we started noticing that friends were coming to meet each other, making plans to meet here. And that's kind of how our hashtag came about. So our hashtag is Friends in Fresh Air. With the two of those things, a lot of good things can happen, right? And so we created a lounge this year on our property so that people didn't have to stay in the parking lot and chat. We're like, please go enjoy the Muskoka chairs under the tree, sit in the hammock. We set up a big bonfire outside of our winter workouts, encouraging people to come. Bring your coffee in your thermos or whatever's in your thermos, we don't ask, and just sit and enjoy and be with people. Social interaction was really key. And nature going into that mental health factor too. So, even on the days that weren't the most sunny, people still found that joy and that energy that they take in from being outdoors. And that's why this year, even though the studio is open, we've had people ask us, can you bring the winter workouts back? Because they had such a great time. And I was like, are you sure? Are you serious? Like, do I have to start buying foot warmers? And they're like, yeah, we want to do it. It's so great. And I'm like, oh, crap. But you know what? And we're keeping it going. And I tell them, you know what? Everything's dictated by you guys. So if you guys support it, we'll add more. But people just really found that the mental health part, being able to deal with, let's face it, so many people have gone through a lot of hard things in the last year and a half. And we need all the help we can get.
Yeah. Do you also think some of it is, and a lot of people, and everyone's different for sure, but I find this with a lot of people is they like the challenge, right? Which is why people want to do fitness challenges, is why they want to try, the next level of something or the next weight. Do you think some of them secretly like the challenge of trying to work outside at -15?
I think this year they do.
Yeah.
The ones who have come to me this year, last year it really was necessity.
Yeah.
And I remember having conversations with people and I'm like, listen, you've done so good. You've been so consistent. Do not let this shutdown stop you now. And if you know you need to see me maybe in person, if you know you need you to be with your friend, like do what you need to do. Don't let this hold you back. The necessity maybe is what got them out of the door in the first bit, but as the weeks went on, the weather was like, it wasn't even a part of the discussion anymore. Like once people got going, they were just like, yeah, it's just any other old thing. You learn how to dress for it, be smart, wear layers. Some people would come in just like the dumbest of outfits at the beginning. And I'm like, I feel like a mother hen. I'm like, where are your gloves? Can you please go home and get your gloves? Like I felt like a kindergarten teacher. But yeah, people do love challenges for sure. And from a business perspective, it was kind of Instagrammable, what we had going on at the time. So it was unique. Nobody else had it. People loved the bonfire, the frozen pond beside it. It had a lot of good things going for it. So my feeling is whatever gets you here. If you like the challenge, if you like, the FOMO and taking a selfie to, whatever gets you here, I'm happy.
I keep picturing like the winter cottage trip. It's like a winter cottage trip with a workout thrown in. I love it. So here's something that kind of has come up for me a lot in our journey with the Nock Academy, and obviously similar with yours, is we had to adapt very quickly and create something. And something that keeps going around in my head is that we had to try, well, for me anyway, I had to learn to be resourceful and not perfect. And what I'd love to hear a little bit about, because obviously I got to witness this, via social media, is how you had to be resourceful, because, and maybe talk a little bit about the outdoor space you've got and the equipment you were using, to give people a kind of picture of how it wasn't suddenly you were just able to create this amazing, multi-million-dollar fitness facility, but, how you started that off in the first instance.
Yeah, it was the combination of really like listening to members and what they wanted and what, lit them up. Also the help of my family. So my husband has been super helpful, super resourceful. Just, he's a guy who can build stuff and help me make things. And I'd find ideas on Pinterest and I'd be like, Dan, can you make this? And yeah, okay. And so once we started, basically we started looking around at what we had and what was our advantage. Our advantage was space. Our advantage was the beauty of the space. We have a forest on our property. That's an advantage. We ended up cutting down trees to use as wood weights. So if you go on my Instagram and you look way back into the summer, you'll see I was a new business. I'm like, I can't afford to buy weights right now. Weights are like $3 a pound. Yeah. And I've got to buy like how many sets because nobody wants to share stuff. And like, I'm looking around, I'm like, I can't buy all these things. So it was a wood, like a log that we cut into logs in different sizes. And then we made handles out of like a rope, like a heavy duty rope. People love it. It looks good. People are like, how much does it weigh? And I'm like, I don't know, just pick it up. It's fine.
Not what we're here for, people.
It's fine. It's fine. We got sandbags full of sand. We started using hay bales. So one day I was hauling hay with my dad, which is just a rite of passage when you live on a farm that, and then for the next week, you're just like covered in scratches. And there I am hauling bales. And I'm just like, oh, I should get everybody out here to do this as a workout. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. I have an idea. And that's how our class Farmers Chores came to be. So we use hay bales in that workout, sandbags, our wood weights. It's a circuit style workout that just uses kind of unconventional things. We realized we could use the hay bales for like a bench. I said it's like a poor girls version of a bench. So we used it for tricep dips and step ups. Bonus points, they had to pick it up and put it away when they were done. So I didn't have to do it. We just started really looking around and saying like, okay, what do we have going for us People are coming here because they actually like the creativity. So let's just get crazy with this a little bit. The other thing was our outdoor facility. We call it the round pen. It ironically used to be used for horse exercise, ironically. And late into the fall, early fall maybe, my dad said, you know what, you're going to need a place that has lights, because the outdoor, when the time changes and everything, he says, you're running out of light. So it'd be a shame to lose your evening people. And he said, the other thing is, he goes, I'm worried you're going to get shut down again. Let's take the dirt out of that facility. It's a giant gazebo, let's call it. Like, it's just huge. It's got all these huge windows on the outside. Bylaw officers came, said, yep, this is considered an outdoor facility, so indoor rules don't apply. We took all the dirt out because dirt freezes in the winter, right? Like, if you've ever had to run on frozen dirt, like, you can just twist an ankle so fast. We took the dirt out and we put sand in. We brought in 2 giant truckloads of really soft filtered sand, because sand doesn't freeze. And then we threw up some TRX straps inside. We brought in a few other things, and that is what got us through the winter. It also got us through all the other bad weather days. So what I was seeing with problems with people who at that time were finally starting to run outdoor classes, maybe in the parking lot from their gym, every time it rained, they had to cancel class. And for us, every time it rained, we were fine. We never had to cancel. I think there was like 2 times we had to cancel because it was like thunder, lightning, and like hail going sideways. We're like, okay, stay home. But otherwise, we were able to keep going. So really just looking at things and being like, you know what? Crazy isn't a bad thing. Creativity is not a bad thing. Let's get a little wild. And yeah, we came up with some good ideas.
I love it. And that's such an important message for anyone, and we're kind of, I want to say we're out of COVID, because we're not, but we're in that direction now. And, we're very fortunate in Canada to, I think, have gradually figured it out and seem to be going very much in the right direction. So gyms are back open, people are starting to get back, and limitations are, all the restrictions are being lifted. But there are probably lots of people listening, fitness professionals and people out there that are maybe thinking they do want to try something now, and maybe, they want to set up maybe an in-person facility or a virtual facility. And the message is just be resourceful. Look at what you've got, because there is so many ways to do it. No one ever thought, and if you've gone back 2 years ago and say, come pay this money to work out my farm, you're going to throw away a hay bale. You probably, people are like, I don't know about that. But we had an opportunity, and we were like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And you realize that actually there's a market for something that maybe we wouldn't have thought. And we did exactly the same thing. Originally, a really crappy old carpet down on the basement floor with like all the concrete wall and insulation. And that's where we started training people online, because it's what we had. And I'm like, I just, tilt my laptop into the corner. And then I was like, oh, I might be able to just, if I can put a curtain up here, sometimes can be handy. And like chief maintenance officer now, put like a curtain up on one wall to cover it up, because when you've got a camera too, you can get away with a lot more than you can in person, because you just shoot it into one corner. So I shot it into one corner, kind of like in between the staircase and the edge of the insulation. And I'm giving all my secrets away now. And then low enough that you couldn't see the ceiling, because it's an open ceiling in the basement, although it's very high. And that's what we had. And then I was like, people are paying money for this. Can you see what it looks like? It looks like shit in the background. But people didn't care. Right. And they were like, I want to work out. I love working out with you. I want to log on with all my friends and all my people that, and we had some people that had been working out together and people that met, online, and the same thing. And then I started to realize, oh, you know what, we can maybe tweak a few things. And then obviously it progressed from there. But what we started with was something that in my head, and me being a perfectionist in my head, I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't take this like few boot camps online and make a business out of it, because it looks like crap. However, I'm like, well, but all these people are here. And then Nikki had loads of people too. And I'm like, oh, hold on. So that's the same thing, right? We were also, what did we have? We had some bands, we had some dumbbells. We're like, we got to make it work with what we have.
And most importantly, you have you. And I think like this is the thing. Fitness, especially business in general, of course, is about trust. Sales is about trust, blah, blah, blah. But fitness is really, really about trust. Like when you work with someone that closely, it's because you trust that they're going to take care of you, they're going to listen to you, they're going to work with you. And I think sometimes as fitness professionals, we maybe we maybe don't give ourselves enough credit that, you know what, it could be like a burning building going on around you. But if Gareth says, let's go, everybody's like, okay, let's go. Because it is like, if anyone's listening to this and you're sitting on the fence and you're like, don't underestimate what you provide. There's only one you. You've obviously done something to like appeal to people. And are you going to appeal to everybody? No. We all know that. You know, we ourselves as people who attend fitness classes and stuff, we have our favorite trainers and instructors, ones that we gravitate to. There's always going to be different people for different things. But the quicker you can realize that you are unique, you know, don't hide your personality, your talents. People are going to come, because there is the beach bodies of the world and like all these, like, because I thought the same thing. I was like, who on earth is going to come here? Like, why would you want to drive a little bit more out of your way? Why would people? And I had this conversation with multiple people in my life, and I had to talk it out. Like, if I stayed in my own head, it stayed real and true. And the more I talked it out, I realized, yeah, I could get some people to come. And I realized I didn't need 1,000 people to come. Yeah. This is the other thing going out on your own, right? Is like, I tell everybody, do the math. You probably don't need 1,000 members. Figure out how many you do need to get by, figure out how many you need to make a living, and figure out how many you need to like really like do it the way you want to do it. And once you figure that out, you're like, okay, this could work. I don't need to be Beachbody. I never will be. It's not my thing. It's not what I'm after. I'm going to go do this, and then lean into that. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I love that. And that talks a lot to, because apparently when you run your own business, you have to do everything. So yes. I'm on a journey of learning marketing right now. And there's a lot of those conversations where, you know, finding a niche, right, is so important. And, you know, we're looking at that as a business right now and trying to direct it towards, you know, something we really understand. And, you know, we're dialing into busy parents that want to move more and get results, and they don't feel like they have the capacity to do it. Right. So, and I know what it's like because I have a 4-year-old. So, and, you know, we're trying to run a business and run a house and what have you. So that's kind of was like, what do I really understand? And I'm like, yeah, I understand fitness. I understand the body. I understand how to program, but what do I really understand? Like, where do you connect? Right. Because people don't connect to that necessarily. And that's been a really important learning curve for me, and trying to speak to that audience, you know, just like you said. So yeah, definitely some great business points there. Super interesting. Now something else I'm interested to dig into a little bit. You mentioned that, as you know, you building a brand new business, and it's a COVID business, as is, you know, our business. And you spoke about it kind of going beyond that. So can it go beyond COVID when gyms are back open and what have you? And I think with what you have this nice balance. Like you said, you're building that new studio space. It looks great. I've been watching the construction videos online. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're going to have those kind of options. What I'd love to hear is just thoughts on kind of the virtual and the digital world and where that's going, because obviously things are open now and people are like, well, I guess people's thoughts are, well, this is just an option I had. Now I'm going to go back into the gym. And how do you see the world of digital kind of fitness supplementing what you're doing and what the industry's doing?
Yeah, I think, you know, everybody says digital's here to stay, and I think that's true. I think what we're going to see is a real blend going forward. You know, before COVID, we saw members at the gym, I'm sure you did too, who had gym memberships at 2, sometimes 3 different gyms, because it gave them different things. You know, they went to a yoga studio and paid the premium because they got really good, you know, in-depth, really on brand, or that's not the right word, but they got a yoga experience instead of more of a like generic one, right? They paid a spot at maybe the Y because they wanted to access the pool. So there was already a little bit of that beforehand, where this whole idea of people want what they want when they want it. And again, I think COVID fanned that flame a little bit more too, because, well, some of us experienced not getting what we want, going to the grocery store, not having something that we thought should be there. We definitely are in like a, you know, on-demand kind of society, perhaps more than ever. A lot of people liken it to, you know, the Starbucks effect. You know, I want a grande, half fat, low temperature chai latte, quarter sweet. Like, if anyone's listening, that's my order. But, you know, people want what they want. So with digital, you know, so many people leaned into that because it's literally all there was at the beginning. When things open back up, we noticed here that some people did go back to the gym, but we heard of a ton of people who were canceling their membership. And part of the reason was because they realized they had enough time, they had enough pause to go, what was I paying for? And if all I paid for was to go to the gym and spin twice a week, and I can spin at home on my Peloton, like, it gave people the time to kind of do the math. And again, everybody's different. Some people, they're like, I'd pay whatever it is just so I could be with people. Some people need the flexibility of it. And so digital going forward, I do think is here to stay, but in conjunction with other things. So we have people now who come to see us maybe once a week. You know, it's their weekend treat. They work out at home on their own, twice a week, maybe, with an online program of some kind. They might go do a specialty yoga class or a swim or something. They come and see us every weekend because that's their weekend treat. And you know what? If I only see them once a week, I'm super happy. They're here, they're consistent, they're a part of our community, and they're fans of what we do, which is great. I think the key to digital going forward is going to be the continued flexibility for people and showing them how it can work with the other things that they do. You know, a lot of people invested in home gym equipment. There's a lot of people that can't, dollar-wise, they just can't. So maybe the gym is a better use for them for the equipment. But if people are craving that specific coaching and guidance, you know, if that's what you offer is more than just a press, play, and go kind of thing, I think people have come to appreciate what personal attention and those specific requirements. People are seeing a value in that more than ever before. So if you can convey that value through your digital, I think lots of people are going to combine a few different things going forward.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And that's actually much of the thought process, you know, in, I was going to say business planning, because that would be a complete lie because I don't really have one. But the theory of the business plan that goes around in my head, which basically means the conversations we have on the couch at 9 p.m. while drinking a bottle of red wine.
Yep, me and my husband do the same.
So when we're having those business meetings, you know, we spoke about this a lot originally and how to balance it. And we looked at what I was used to. So I, in my career, for the most part, worked in big box gyms all over the world. And I always had some other form of coaching with that. So it was often group fitness classes, which were sometimes included, sometimes extra. And then small group training, which is kind of really my speciality and has been over the past 10 years, is training small groups. And I've also done one-to-one training. And I kind of looked at what's the average person doing that wants a little bit more than a gym membership. For the most part, group training, let's call that maybe a $40 a month, $40 a week investment. Okay, couple of sessions, $20 a session, upwards of maybe up to like 30, down to like 10. So put it in that bracket somewhere. On top of a membership, which is, say, let's call it $60 a month, $70 a month, depending on where you go. So we kind of looked at that and said, okay, how do we make this available to people so when the gym opens up again, they can restart their membership? If they want to go somewhere else and do something speciality, they can. But like, how do we make this work for them? Because right now they're paying, and they were paying to come into the gym twice a week and have a coach-led session and had their gym membership. So I figured it out. I was like, it's probably $150 a month investment for them, roughly 150 to 200. So we picked a price point that enabled that. So that was kind of part of that. So when, you know, for everyone listening that's thinking about how do you come up with something that is able to integrate that, we're dialing into a market of people that want a little bit more than press play on a video and watch it, because we all know how successful that is for the most part. And we have an on-demand platform, but it's not as popular as the live coaching is. So it shows that people want that, right? So yeah, we just positioned it and we said, hey, if you get a gym membership at $60 a month and you have a membership with us and your overall cost is $160, and suddenly you've got unlimited access to us as well, which is something else we were able to do with a platform.
Yeah.
It was exactly that, to try and find that, because I knew that I was probably going to go back to the gym and work out at some point. So, but I'd also like to do some other stuff as well, right? So it's just finding that sweet spot. And exactly like you said, is understanding that people need probably a little bit of everything, right? Not many people just go to one singular grocery store, buy everything, and never go anywhere else. They're going to go to probably the bakery down the street. They might go to the butcher to get something special. Exactly your point. It's how we live life, right? We have so much, especially when we live in Ontario, like there's an abundance of everything wherever you go. Even if you live, out on a farm somewhere, it's probably still a fair bit of abundance. So yeah, we need that, right? And I love that idea. And you actually gave me, so I wrote some notes down here that I stole. So for some ideas I need to run through at a later date. So yeah, I love that insight, and it's definitely gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting from us as a digital standpoint moving forward, and I'm sure to see kind of how that plays out in your world as well.
I think especially the next year, and I think for anyone who has started something, whether you think it's big or small or whatever, if you've started something, the key the next year, I think, is going to be keeping in touch with the people you have, keep asking them questions, keep doing polls, have focus groups. They will tell you, your fans will say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I need more of, because all of our lives are, especially this next year, they're going to change a little bit still. And, if going back to developing that relationship and that trust, is it possible to continue that even through this kind of evolution? I think it is. I think if you've established good relationships with people, good customer service, good, all that stuff, they will look for ways to kind of support you as well, especially if they see like you're looking to them, you're interested in what they're doing and what's important to them. I'd say keep having those conversations. It'll guide you on where you need to go.
Yeah, and I think that is something else I've spoke about a fair bit on some of the episodes we've done recently, is being transparent as a business owner is important too. Yeah. And that kind of leads into what you were saying, Jessie, because people need to understand, right? And sometimes when people do understand and they get a kind of lens through to your world, because it can look very different than it actually is. Like I just laughed, right? Like you tilt the camera angle a little bit up on our studio, you get to see the crap in my basement. Right. And then that's the reality. And I share that because it's funny. And I like to poke fun at myself, but it's also so people go, oh, okay, I see it. Right. And it's good for me to share that, every time, we get a subscriber or a member, that contributes to us paying the rent on the house where the studio is, so we can keep running a business. Like that's an important part that people sometimes, and for me personally in the past, I've been really scared to share that and be transparent. And I'm slowly learning to be a bit more comfortable with it. So we can create that transparency and hopefully people connect with that. So I think that's a really important message too.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's talk a little bit about starting a business, because we obviously heard about what you do and how it kind of came about, which is an amazing story, by the way, and I appreciate you sharing it. What I want to know now, talking about transparency, this is a good segue.
Oh boy.
Is get ready for it. How do you go from I don't have a job, and we were in a very similar position. We both had a job in the fitness industry, we were employed. And how do you go from that mindset to I'm going to start a business? Because that is pretty scary, in my opinion. Maybe not for you, but we'll find out. It's quite scary. And how do you mentally process everything that comes with that to actually make forward steps and get where you have got with a business?
Yeah. I'll share the two pieces of advice that I tell everyone. I remember the day I just felt stuck. Like I was contemplating doing this. We had started the boot camps temporarily. Like when I first launched just basic boot camps here, I was like, this will go on for a couple months. Okay, maybe 3. We didn't really know. So it's a funny position because it's like I started a business, but I wasn't really thinking even that it was a business. Like it's very strange. But we got to a point where it was like, I've got to make a decision. It was around the time we were deciding whether or not we were going to invest in building a studio. And I was really battling, like, and just stuck in this cycle of like, but what if this happens? And what if this? And what if this? And I remember talking it out with my family, my husband, my dad. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family my whole life. So my dad is 71, has worked for himself since he was like 18 years old. So he had some really good insight for me, and I'll come back to him in a second. But talking things out allowed me to hear myself and sometimes hear how silly these things sounded. Because if you keep it in your head, I think I mentioned that before, you know, it's all very real. But when you talk it out and you keep hearing almost like these excuses and these different things, you're like, that sounds so lame. Okay. So that combined with writing it out. Now, for me, writing it out helped me because I literally took a piece of paper, and I remember the day I did it. I think I threw out the paper, but I wish I could find it. A piece of paper where I wrote down what my fears were, and then I wrote down what was actually true. 2 columns. Because the fears can come quickly, and you write it all out, and for me, and I literally laugh about this every time I talk about this, my fear was, of course, what people will think. So I was afraid that people would think that I was trying to take advantage of the situation, that I was trying to take advantage of COVID. I was afraid of losing relationships that I had developed from my professional career. I was afraid of what those people would think if I said I'm not doing this anymore. I was afraid of losing money, right? I think every new business owner is like the money part is a big part of it. So I started going through these things, very legitimate fears. People listening might be like, yep, those are mine right now. But then I was like, okay, but what is real? And I had to come to terms with that. What is real is that I will never know what everybody thinks. It's impossible to know what people think. So why am I so worried about what people think? And the reality was also that people are paying money one way or the other. If somebody wants to do fitness, whether it's during COVID or whatever, people are standing there with like cash in their hand being like, can someone give me a workout? They're going to give it to someone. Why can't it be me? And going back to, that confidence thing and trusting that people, would be willing to work with you. So that was one thing, like just getting over the whole, what do people think? You're always going to have someone who thinks negatively about you. You just don't include those people in your life. Worried about what people thought about me, losing relationships. That was the other thing. And I came to realize, I'm like, if I'm going to lose the friendships that I've developed in my professional life and in the company that I used to work for, if those people are going to cut me out of their friendship, then they weren't friends. That's the reality. So I had to kind of trust that. And sure enough, that all worked out. People in my life said, bless, go on your way. Like, good for you. And they were happy for me and supported me and still support me to this day. As I went through them one by one and tried to really just take a calm, objective approach to the fear, I realized it wasn't actually true. And then it's like the fears just dissipated and went away. So I encourage everyone, surround yourself with people that will let you just talk it out, and write down your thoughts, write down your journey. And again, it helps you to see it objectively. The second thing that helped a lot, going back to my dad, when deciding, I was sitting on the fence, should I go out on my own? I don't know. And his advice was, well, what do you want? And I'm like, what kind of question is that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And he's like, no. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want your life to look like? Stop thinking about your job. Your job is not your life. Think about your life. What do you want your life to look like? Describe to me how you want your day to go. And I'm like, I want to wake up when I want to wake up. I want to spend more time with my family. My parents are in good health, but they're getting older. I want to be able to be around for them. I want to spend more time with my husband. I want to be able to volunteer more. I want to spend more time doing farm stuff, because deep down, I just want to be like one of those homesteader people that, doesn't need a grocery store and just lives off the land. I have chickens for anyone who follows me. I want to have more chickens. I want to do more canning. I want the time to make pickles and sauerkraut. I know this sounds crazy. This is what I want my life to be. And he's like, okay, so which one goes with your life? Sticking with the job that you had, which actually I didn't know that I was going to have because it was still in COVID. There was uncertainty there, or going out and doing my own thing. And I knew which one aligned with the life I wanted. So I think sometimes we get obsessed with the job and that the job is our life and our life is the job, but actually your life is way bigger than your job. So pick your life first and then find the thing that works with it. And then it was easier to make that decision. It was easier to remind myself that actually, like, I'm the one in charge. Stepping into entrepreneurship, that's the upside of it, is like, if you want to work more, then work more. And if you don't, then don't. There's, responsibilities that come with that, but if you want to do it, you can do it. And I realized that I'm responsible. If 5 years goes by and I still don't have the life that I want, is that because I waited on a company to try to fill my needs? If it is, then shame on me, not on them. They're doing what they're doing. They're taking care of their business. If 5 years goes by and I don't have the life I want, shame on me. That's my responsibility. And once I came to terms with that I would have nobody to blame but myself if I didn't take, in this case for me, it was an opportunity that helped me to get good with my decision and kind of put the fears aside and realize it would be okay.
The something that keeps me on track and stops me getting paralyzed by a lot of those things you mentioned is trying to come back to why. And it sounds like that's been a massive part of your, the evolution of, the starting and the evolution of the business. And it works for me too. A few other things that I have to go back and say. Number one, I think we're the same person. Like, you're rolling off fears. And I'm like, are you reading something about, oh no, you're talking about yourself. Okay. So we went through the same process for sure. 100%. And if I had to find a piece of paper to write my fears down, I don't think there's one big enough. That's the other thing that I had to say. I wrote them down because I thought they were going to be funny. Here's something deadly serious though, that everybody listening needs to be recapped on. Do not include people in your life that think negatively about you, whether that's in person, online. Quite frankly, fuck those people. That's all I have to say, because that's life. People are not going to like you. You are the villain. I did a podcast on the other podcast. Apparently I don't have enough podcasts, so I have another one on that podcast. And, it's that thing. You're the villain in someone's story. We spoke about it on an episode ages ago. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how wonderful everything you give to the world. Someone's going to see you in a negative light, and that's okay, because that's them, and that you can't control someone else's perception of you. So just move away from it, move towards things that, and people that you love. And I love that you use the word surround yourself, something that I've lived by, that I was brought into my life as a way to view, or have the way to live my life is surround myself with people. And I love that you said that. It's really, really important. And the last thing to summarize in that, because I got all excited writing things down, is what do you want? What do you want? Everyone listening, it doesn't matter if you're starting a business, you're a fitness professional, you are a member of our academy, you are a member at Farm Girl Fitness, whoever it is listening in any of our networks, what do you want? And it's easy to say, well, there's too many other things that stop that. But there isn't really. Like you said, there's lots of fears and there's lots of things. And I listened to a great podcast, The Mindset Mentor, and he talks a lot about an actual stat where, and I don't know where the stat comes from, if it's even true, but 85% of the things you worry about never happen.
Totally.
So it's so important. And I want to touch back on quickly on what do you want? And it's interesting that when we can ask those hard questions and go on that journey as an individual, as a human being, we move forward and evolve in our life. And as a business owner, it's the same thing. So I actually had a conversation, and some of the listeners will heard this on other episodes. I sat down at the kitchen table one night, deep in this like pit of anxiety around everything that you said. And I was sat next to Harley, and I turned to her and said, so that's my 4-year-old. And I said to her, do you remember when Daddy had a job? And it was kind of a joke at the time. I'm like, you remember I had a job? I used to travel a lot, and I'd go and I'd fly places on the plane, and you talk to me on the phone, and I'd sing you songs at bedtime. And she's like, yeah, I remember. I'm like, remember I was away for a long time and I'd really miss you. And she's like, yep. And I'm like, what does Daddy do now for work? And she's like, Daddy goes in the basement and trains his clients. I'm like, yep. And she's like, and then as soon as I'm done, I come back upstairs, and then I'm here and I walk you to daycare. And this is before she started school. She's like, yeah. I'm like, what do you prefer? And she's like, I like it when you're here more. Exactly. Done. Pile of tears, like 3 hours of trying to get my head around it. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm starting a business. Regardless that I know nothing about what I'm doing, I'll figure it out. But the fact that this tiny human being can articulate that to me, and that's the one thing that gets me out of that cycle every single time. I remember that conversation. I remember why I do what I do, so I can be with her more. So if you don't know what it is, just ask the difficult questions and do the work, and you'll figure it out and you'll get on the right path.
Yeah, for sure. And often that is described, and we hear it so much, and even how we coach people in focusing on your why. But sometimes that's hard for people. I don't know if you find this, for people to actually articulate. And the reason is because they're stuck on sometimes like an end result, but the journey that they actually need to be on doesn't necessarily line up with what they want their end result to be. You sometimes maybe say too, like, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Your actions are what determine where you're going. This all makes sense when we're having like a calm, logical conversation. When it's in your life. And I think that's what made me think about it differently, because I always thought I was pretty good with my why. But the what does your day look like shifted it, because you could have said that my why was kind of hitting the same thing with what I was doing. So in that instance, my why didn't kind of pull me back to reality. It was what my day looked like that pulled me back to reality a little bit more. Sometimes when I'm coaching people with their why, I say, okay, we're going to do a lesson, and I'm going to sound like a 2-year-old. I'm going to ask you why, you're going to tell me, and then I'm going to say why again, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to say why to that, and you're going to tell me. So people come, I want to lose weight. Why? Because I want to look better. Why? And then they get slower in their responses, because now they got to really think about it. The why doesn't always come easy for people, but where you spend your time, your energy, your money, that's facts. Show me your day and I'll tell you what's important to you. Right? Like somebody said, show me your credit card and I'll tell you what's important to you. And it's true. And, from a fitness perspective, working with clients, it's the same thing. Oh, I really care about my health. Really? Show me your credit card statement. Show me the 10 times this week that you ate out. Just, So if anyone, if that helps anyone, I hope it does, because it's not always the easiest when you're in the thick of it to see the difference between your why and what everyday life kind of you want it to be. So that would be my 2 cents. Keep at it. If it doesn't come right away, keep asking those questions as to why. Every time you answer, ask why again, get to the real deep part of it. But your life shows you what's important to you.
Yeah, I love it. Motivational interviewing. The 7 whys is something that I was introduced to, like, I don't know, years ago as a trainer by someone insightful. And I've loved that all along, right? Like, you dig a little deeper. And I think to kind of, summarize what I'm hearing is that you have to go beyond the macro. And I think we're very similar again in that we both kind of said, we want to help people, we want to make an impact, right? Yeah. So we can do that by being a trainer, by, delivering fitness, by, I was in a leadership role for a long time. I did that. I can make a massive impact, because if I can influence those people, they'll influence all the people that they work with, and I'll make this massive waterfall effect. But really, when I ask the hard questions, I'm like, actually, I just want to be with my family more. So yes, it's making an impact, but it's making an impact because I've created something where I can do that. And then the people that resonates with will be attracted to what I do. So it's just a slightly different approach, and you have to just dig a little deeper under the surface, right, to figure it out. And that's what I did. And it sounds like that's what you did. And it isn't easy. It is scary. And there are a lot of obstacles. And let's be very clear. We're having this conversation, and we might sound all wise and insightful that we figured out why. You might do, Jessie. I don't know about me.
Just wait till we have a drink or two next time we see each other. We'll really just sound so wise and insightful.
Yeah. That's going to be a 3-hour episode of a podcast. It is, but we struggle. Like, we both struggle with those things. You've heard it today. It's not easy, and it's a massive steep learning curve, but you have to embrace that. And like I said, you come back to it, and that's what's going to drive you in the right direction. And, it's very much, the last thing I'll kind of say on that is destination. If you get down to that real deep why, and you dig below the surface of that very macro, I think you can understand what you were saying, which is it's not destination based. Me spending more time with my family is not a destination. It's an everyday part of my life, right? Just ways that I can manipulate what I do to do that. That makes me realize that it's all about the journey. It's about the everyday, right? And that's where I think if we can find that, then we found like the sweet spot. And I think we answer a lot of the esoteric questions in the world by finding that. So do the work. Listen, this has been absolutely fantastic conversation. I'd love to hand it over to you just to let everyone know, and I will put it in the show notes, but just so we can hear your wonderful voice again. Where can everybody find you and connect with you if they're interested in Farm Girl Fitness, they're interested in you as a business owner, and, finding out what you're up to? Tell everyone.
For sure. You can find us at our website, which is farmgirlfitness.ca. We talk there a little bit about the business, and we've got lots of pictures, and we love to give people an experience of the farm. So you can find us there, book a class there. You can find us on Instagram, which is also at farmgirlfitness.ca. And we do a lot of updates there. We're keeping people connected with what's going on as we're building the second studio. Those are really the two main places to find us. Facebook as well. We have a Facebook group. If you search Farm Girl Fitness by Jessie, you will find our Facebook group there. So reach out anytime. And we have a lot of people reach out because I do enjoy sharing the story of how we've come to be. So I have, other business owners and people saying, what do you think about this? I'm happy to share whatever I've got.
Yeah, I love that. And when, we are small businesses, sharing that stuff's important because we always learn. And that's quite selfishly why we have both our members coming on the show to share their stories, but I also get fitness professionals and business owners on because I get to learn loads of things and I get to talk to awesome people. So it's a win-win. Definitely go check out Instagram. You will love following Jessie's journey on there. And sometimes, quite honestly, I'm not really listening to the content, but I love your energy and your passion. And I just kind of have it on and I flick through your stories because I'm like, all right, now I'm pumped up, ready to go. So it will definitely help you from that. And it's important. We spoke about surrounding yourself and what you view on a daily basis, the stuff you consume. So consume stuff from the right people that lift you up and that support you in your message. And that's so important. So I really appreciate you coming on, giving us your time. You are quite clearly a busy business owner with a fitness business and a farm and other stuff and all sorts of things. So I appreciate you finding an hour in your day to share it with us. I know everyone listening would have got a lot from the show. Whatever resonated, whatever really landed, we'd love to hear. So send us your feedback. You can connect with us in the show notes. You can connect with Jessie in the show notes. And if something really impacted you that you heard today on the show, please share this episode with someone you love and care about. It gets the message out there into more people's ears and it helps to just continue to make an impact. And that's so important to myself, to Nikki, and I know it's important to Jessie too. Thank you for listening. Jessie, thank you for being on the show. Whatever you're doing today, have an awesome rest of your day. Enjoy it. And we will catch you on the next episode.